Welcome everybody to this week's masterclass where we have Alyssa hosting this week. Super excited to be able to have her share her knowledge with us. And so if you guys have any questions, please make sure to post them in the chats below. Otherwise, Alyssa, please tell us quickly about yourself and then head on to your topic.
So my name's Alyssa Marquez. My market is San Antonio, Texas. I'm going on my third year in real estate. I've been in San Antonio for about 6 years. I'm also licensed in Southeast Florida, so West Palm Beach down to Miami. My topic today is going to be how I've pretty much built my business so far with investor clients. 50 out of my last 75 transactions have been with investors specifically. So it's making up close to 70% of my business right now. I'm going to go through how to find them, understanding their needs, and different strategies that I've used that have helped me leverage these clients for repeat business.
Sweet. Alyssa, can you qualify what type of investors you're working with?
Yeah, so for a majority of the investors I work with, it's a lot of people who are fix and flipping houses, but also the ones buy and holding. Also, now it's becoming pretty big here for investors that are buying them, fixing them, and then owner financing them, because we do have a lot of clientele in this market that are like foreign nationals. So that's an easier way that they're turning around and owner financing the property. And then another is Airbnb investors because we get a lot of tourists over here. So that's a pretty good market for some of my clients. Multifamily investors, and then the luxury investors and builders.
Sweet.
So do I start?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. And at the end, I can drop I can drop my Instagram, my contact information. So yeah, I'll begin. Some of the common goals with the investor clients is always the return on investment. They want to know how much cash flow they're going to make, the appreciation of the property that's going to occur. It's also good for tax benefits. It's also good to present this to past clients that you have who probably aren't familiar with beginning that first investment purchase. Having a lot of market knowledge is really important. Staying informed about the trends, of course, what neighborhoods are going to sell quickly. So if you have investors looking to fix and flip, I've now become more familiar with the good areas that they're not going to sit on the property 6+ months and be losing money and drowning underwater. So building a network of investor clients, it's worked for me with Facebook groups, so local Facebook investor groups in my market, joining those, going to local meetups at restaurants. Maybe there's wholesalers in your market who host those meetups, bigger companies that you can go to meet the investors in person. I've found through the last month, I would say that meeting the investors in person is always going to help more because they're talking to 1,000 other agents, other wholesalers. So establishing that relationship from the get-go is super important, and showing them, that you're there for them and you understand exactly what their goals are, because each investor has a different goal in mind and what they want in the end is different. So you do have to tailor your services to each client a lot different. Also establishing credibility. So showing, posting on social media, what you're doing with these clients, how you got them the property. And then if you're turning around and selling it for them, what did that look like? People are watching, people are looking. Let's see here.
So let's dive a little bit deeper into how to find them.
Okay. Yeah. So, oh yeah, I skipped that point. I did have it here. LinkedIn, I haven't really tapped into LinkedIn a lot, but I know others in my sphere who use LinkedIn. I think that that's probably something I need to start looking into more. A big way that I've gotten my investor clients is through Facebook groups. If somebody's posting a property that's off market, there's going to be, if that post ends up getting 15, 20 comments, I'll go in and message those people who are commenting, because those are people looking for properties, and then I'll get them on the phone, go through the whole initial conversation. Also Instagram channels. If you're able to set up a broadcast channel on your Instagram, that's where I'll post potential investment properties. And that's a way where anybody who's joined my channel, they'll reach out to me and ask me about that property. So if I maybe forgot about a client or a potential investor, that's one way that's been bringing me in those leads. The biggest source that has been worked really well for me the last 8 months is Bigger Pockets. I don't know if any of you guys have used Bigger Pockets before, but it's basically, if you're not familiar, it's basically a Facebook for investors throughout the whole country. And you can go in and look up a certain city, look at all the posts that people are putting in, reach out to people.
When I think of Bigger Pockets, I think of Bigger Pockets podcast. Is that linked? Is it same thing or is it different?
Yeah, Bigger Pockets has a podcast, but they also have a website that you can sign up as an agent for. So you can sign up as an agent, create your whole profile just like Zillow, and you can get leads through Bigger Pockets.
Yeah, I just posted the link on the chats for you guys.
Mm-hmm. And that's been probably the best return on investment for any lead source that I've paid for. But even aside from paying, I've closed 4 or 5 clients from there, just not paying, just from going through the forums and looking at the posts and reaching out to those clients. So yeah, those were four ways about getting the investor clients. And then other than that, I mean, it would be another extending from those clients is referrals, because if they're investing, they probably know several other people investing. And if you're doing a good job with them, they're going to refer you. Okay, so in that initial conversation, I always want to get the investor on the phone. It's just been much easier that way. You get to establish that credibility with yourself and also understand if they're a newbie or a seasoned investor. You have to establish their buying criteria, what's their price range, the property criteria, what's their exit strategy? Are they going to turn around and sell it? Are they going to want to get renters in there? If they're going to want to get renters in there, maybe you can refer them to a property management, or you can turn around and list that for lease as well. I always ask them if they've done projects before and if they're working on any projects, and I ask to go see any projects that they're currently working on, to see, the type of work that they're doing and the type of property that they've already purchased, so you have an idea in mind of what they're looking for. And I put here the same way that we have to hold first-time buyers' hands sometimes from beginning to end. That's pretty much similar to a first-time investor. Making that first purchase as an investor is the hardest part, and people will just keep looking and looking and looking and never buy. But us guiding them and knowing exactly, how the numbers work with the lender and from A to Z is going to help them pull that trigger first. And as long as it's a safe purchase and everything goes well, they'll buy again with you. Let's see here. So I always do, I run the comps on a property before I even send it over to the investor. If I'm getting like a property from, an agent who's got a pocket listing and they're telling me the ARV is this, I'm going to run the comps first, check it out, make sure it all checks out, and then send it over. I don't want to be sending over a deal that's not going to be a good deal or something I wouldn't take on myself to the client, because that's also going to establish credibility and show, how to run your numbers and look at these deals for the investor. And
Listen,
I'll go ahead and, yes.
can you walk us through that real quick? I'd be very interested to see how you navigate, like finding a property and then, like how detailed do you get with your comps? Are you doing like ROI, analysis? Like what type of specific data are you providing as value as an agent to them so that they'll want to work with you?
So it does depend on what they're going to do with the property, but for example, like a scenario I'm dealing with now, when we have a property in mind, my client will get it to the hard money lender. So I'll get to see all those costs, and I'm putting it on an Excel sheet for her. This is the price we're going to sell it at. This is the cost you're paying the hard money lender. This is how much it's going to cost you to hold it. And I'm putting that Excel sheet so she sees the exact profit margin.
Hmm.
And then I'm sending, comps for resale value. But if they're going to rent it, then I'm going to also send the rental comps.
Awesome. Do you have like, is there a Excel sheet that you've created, or do you have one you got from someone else?
It's something I've created.
Okay.
I mean, I could probably, do you want me to like drop a screenshot or?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be great to be able to see, just so people can get an idea of like what are the things, the line items that you look for and most investors are looking for. And I wonder if like if you're, if you're talking to somebody and they are, saying, well, these are the things that I'm most interested in, right? It might vary from investor to investor, but I would assume at the end of the day, a lot of them are going to want the same type of, information, right?
Mhm. Yes. So I
And
can
then a question I was asked is, are you providing only off-market deals, or are you sending them stuff from the MLS?
both. Oh, I see the comment here now. It's both. So I do have like relationships with local wholesalers, but smaller people, not bigger companies.
Okay.
So that's one source where I'll get the off markets from. The other source is like my own investors. Occasionally they want to offload their portfolio. So that's an off market property that I can give to another client of mine. Agents within my network, if they come across a property that's obviously needing a lot of work, they want to avoid going to market and having all that happen, they'll send it my way.
Awesome. And then what happens when you deal with, or you get a property that's like really good? Are you looking at buying it yourself, or are you just feeding these other people to get them rich?
So the first 2 years I was sending them out, but this year is the first year that I've been purchasing them myself. So I've done two, closed on one, under contract on my second one, and then the third one we're still remodeling right now.
Congratulations. That's awesome. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Dang, listen up, you guys. That is awesome. What a rock star. Okay, what else do you have for us?
Let me see here. So yeah, just going through the market analysis and offering value added services. So I mentioned like having those referrals is going to be super important, especially for out of state investors. And I do work with a lot of out of state investors from California, Seattle, New Mexico, Florida. So they don't have boots on the ground here. They don't have those trusted contractor referrals. Building that solid relationship with a contractor is super important. I have 3 that I cycle through, and they've all been pretty well and worked out so well so far, thankfully. Um, Also hard money lenders, having 3 to 4 different hard money lenders because they all have different terms. And of course, it's going to depend on the buyer's experience with different hard money lenders, whether they're going to give them better terms or not.
Mhm.
Mm, mm, mm. And then when talking to the investor, it's good to demonstrate and let them know like past investors that you've helped and success stories or personal investment deals that maybe you've done that you can share with them to establish that credibility. Most investors also, if they're seasoned, they're investing in multiple markets. So I always ask that question because then that's a referral I can send out to an agent in California or wherever it may be. And I'll always post like looking for an investor friendly agent because not all agents like to work with investors. So it is important to make an introduction to somebody who is familiar.
How are
And
you
then,
tapping into the 1031 opportunities where, someone could, sell a property in California that's, maybe been an investment that they've had for a long time. They've got plenty of equity into it. Are you strategizing on ways to be able to, bring awareness to those investors that, most investors are mom and pops, right? Unless you're dealing with like the, big hedge fund companies. And so you're talking to them and saying, hey, sell your one, I don't know, duplex for 2 point whatever million or 1.5 million. And you come here and you buy a whole freaking, street or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, how are you doing that? Or are you doing that?
so actually, I haven't helped a single investor yet with the 1031 exchange.
Like,
That is something that I need to tap into more and also present it to like past clients of mine who haven't tapped into the investment side. I know that's like a pot of gold that I might be missing out on.
yeah, I mean, what percentage of the people that you're helping are doing more of the flipping compared to the ones that are holding?
It's probably like 70-30, 70% are flipping.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Yeah. I mean, obviously investors are not going to care about 1031s, but, or the flippers are not, but the long-term holders are going to want to be concerned about that.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, awesome. As I'm asking these questions, you guys, if you have any additional questions, please post them in the chats below, or, you can unmute yourself for a second and tap into that. Now, Chris, I'd love to see your feedback as well, because Chris is the guy that does the flips, right? That's where he makes most of his money. And so I'm curious to know, like, do you have a whole bunch of Alyssas that you connect with and tap to like find those investment properties, or are you just do you find them yourself?
So a lot of ours are through wholesalers now. I'm on, gosh, I couldn't even tell you how many wholesale lists, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I do have a name around town now where if an agent knows they have a distressed property that may or may not do well on the market, they'll get a hold of me right away. Most of the stuff that I do now is just with me and my partner out of California. I know Alyssa had mentioned that not everybody likes to work with investors. We're a very investor heavy market. So it's just time consuming to try to weed through the investors that are real and that aren't, just because of all the different things that pop up in seminar. You can always tell when there's a seminar in town because your phone will ring off the hook saying, I want to invest. And I have 3 questions that I ask. If you can't answer all 3 questions, then we don't need to go any further. So, but most of what I'm doing, I'm sourcing for myself just because that's what I love to do. I love doing flips. I love improving the community. We have a very low amount of affordable housing. So that's our goal is to just help the affordable housing market here in Columbus. So everything we do is 250 and under ARV.
Okay, seriously, dude, you can't just say I asked 3 special magical questions and then not tell us what the freaking questions are.
I gotta get you. You gotta come back for more. That's how this works, right?
Question number 1 is
So mainly, I'm asking them what their buy box is, where their money is coming from, and if they've ever done it before. And if they can't answer those 3 questions or have some sort of knowledge behind that, or are him and hauling, it's if they say they do have the money, then it's where's your money coming from? Is it your money? Is it hard lending? What is that? And generally, 95%, Alyssa, you probably have this as well. They can't answer where their money's coming from because they're all being taught to do this without money, which can be done, but it's not necessarily realistic. And those are just my questions. Those are the things that I need to hear somebody say and speak knowledgeably and comfortably and confidently about.
okay, cool. So what would be a reasonable answer for someone to say what's their buy box?
Oh man, buy boxes can be all over the place, honestly. If they come in here and they tell me, like I got a call the other day, ladies pre-approved for $120,000, which is non-existent unless you're on the outskirts of Columbus anymore. She's
Mhm.
like, well, I only want to spend like 75 or 80,000, but she wants 6 or 7 bedrooms. And I mean, you just listen. People will tell you what they know and what they don't know if you listen. So that's one. She's even called me back. She didn't realize she called me before. So she's just trying to find agents. I tried to explain to her how the lending would work. You're not going to be able to buy a $75,000-$80,000 house because it's not going to pass lending. And, you know, those are the same conversations we have with a normal buyer, the conversations we need to have with the investors, just a little bit more targeted and pointed.
Awesome. I love that. Alyssa, if I were to create a social media post, now I know it's not a one silver bullet type of thing, right? But like the constant message that you're creating is, hey, I'm an investor friendly agent that could help you, you know, create generational wealth by either buying property and holding or buying and flipping properties. You know, what is the type of, and obviously I can look you up in a minute, but what is the type of messaging that you put on social to be able to attract that type of investor buyers to your door?
Well, I'll put, I mean, so I guess I can say this scenario. So this property that I just finished up with a partner, I had posted it maybe like 5 times before. I did a reel of, hey guys, I just purchased this property. We're gonna flip it. And then the day before we went to market, I put who's looking for a property under 260K. I had a lot of people reach out to me, and then the next day posted again that we listed it on the market. The next day posted that we're having open houses. And then the next day we went under contract. So then I made that post under contract in 3 days. I had a couple people reach out to me like, under contract 3 days in this market, like, how did you do that? And they asked me about the flip. So it's just like the constant posting, like whatever it is, and people seeing it and then thinking like, oh, let me send her a message, let me ask her what she has, or then they think, oh, I have this property, maybe she wants to buy it or has a buyer for it.
How many transactions have you done in the last 12 months?
In the last 12 months, I think I'm at like 45-ish.
45, and you said 70% of those have been to investors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that the average price point is under 2. Is that kind of the?
Yeah, well, the average price point last year was like under like 230, so it was super low. So that's something that I've been working on and finding those higher end investors. And this year, you know, I'm listing higher properties than I have before, 600,000, 2.2, 1.2, and these are with like the higher end flippers that I have. There's only like 3 solid luxury flippers I have in my Rolodex here, because not a lot of people are tap into that market here. But the one client that I have, he does it because not a lot of people tap into that market, and his properties sell in less than 2 weeks on the market because he's delivering a really good product. And we do have a market for luxury, but investors are scared to tap into that because it's more risk.
And then to do 45 transactions, I mean, that takes at least some level of a team. What's your team structure look like?
I've been working pretty much solo. I just started a team about 45 days ago.
But like, I'm talking about your administrative support that you have. What does that look like?
I didn't have any. I like just established that like since February. So I was losing
You're
my
doing
mind.
all of your own paperwork?
I have a TC, so yes, a
Okay.
transaction coordinator, then he gets paid at closing.
Okay, so you had at least a TC that was helping you with the paperwork aspect of it.
Yes.
Okay, very good. That's freaking awesome. What questions do you guys have for Alyssa? You guys are nuts. Okay, I'm gonna continue asking questions.
Well,
right.
something
Also,
something
there's
I'll
not really
add.
a question. It's more of pat on the back because I think I'm sure everybody on this call has had at least 1 or 2 experiences working with investors. And sometimes the amount of homework and effort you put behind doing the research, finding the properties, vetting the deals, whether or not they're going to cash flow, and then getting to the closing table. And then even beyond there, particularly, is you don't want to just get to the closing and then leave an investor hanging, because then that kills your odds of a repeat relationship. So I think 45 transactions is freaking amazing. And a lot of times those individual transactions are much more copious than, you know, helping somebody find their own $250,000, $300,000 house to buy and move into. So hats off to you. I think that's awesome. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was
Alyssa,
Oh, go
Sorry.
ahead.
I was gonna say, I would love to connect with you outside of this because that a lot of what you're doing is what I did when I started my career. So cut my teeth on investors and all that kind of stuff. So I just love to talk to you a little bit more and maybe even have you present to some of our agents that want to get into investing as well. Because a lot of what you're saying, I tell my agents, but they don't listen to me. So hearing it from somebody like you, especially at 24 years old, doing the things that you're doing, I mean, it's awesome. A lot of the stuff that you're doing is a lot of the stuff I feel like I was doing, and it's fun and it's cool to see that. So congratulations, and I'll reach out to you outside of here. Maybe we could talk some investing in your market and our market and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Christopher.
Absolutely.
I was gonna add in, like after you sell a property to the investor, it is important to continuously go check on the property and see the updates, because you can also provide like opinions on, you know, how they should design the property, because especially if they're new, if they do a bad job and then you're the one listing it and it doesn't sell, they're gonna be mad at you. So it is important to go, you know, check on it and give them advice and show them pictures of the other properties in the neighborhood that are selling. But I think it's something not everybody taps into, because it is, you know, it can be tedious, but after a while that you've built it up, if you have 3 solid investors who are flipping and you're helping them with the purchase and they're doing, say, 3 a year, that's 9 on the buy side and maybe 9 on their listings. That's 18 extra transactions that you could have.
That's awesome. I think what's kind of cool is just like how Chris evolved from doing that to actually doing his own. And I love that you're in the process of doing that as well, right? Like, I think a lot of people, a lot of agents specifically, we come across the best deals and then we just hand those over and make our 3%, chum change when the real money is actually doing the flip and making the money from that point, right? Because then you get to do all of it. And so I think that's kind of cool to at least begin somewhere and finding those flips. And if you don't have it or don't have the resource to, you can then sell it to somebody else. So that's pretty awesome. Let's see. Someone asked a question. Do you do any cold, or do you do cold expired calls?
I do not do cold call expired. I don't do cold calls for expireds, but now that I have this listing that I flipped that we got under contract in 3 days, I did pull a list for that neighborhood of expireds, canceled withdrawals, because that's going to be an easier way for me to make that call and say, hey, I saw you tried to sell. I just put this property under contract with the cash buyer in 3 days.
Yeah.
So I am adding that because I know, that's something else that can bring some more deals to the table.
I have a question for the group here. Who here feels like they don't have that in their market, just flips and investors are just not there? Anybody feel that way? Like a limiting belief that you have that it just doesn't happen? Okay. I'm glad that at least that's not the mindset. I mean, sometimes I've had that where I'm like, oh, that it's just not a good place to flip. It's not a good place to buy investments because rates are too high or whatever it might be. But you guys, it happens every single day that's out there, right? Every single day people are buying investment properties either to hold or to flip, and it happens every single day. And if we're not involved in that, and if we have this limiting belief that it's not happening, then we're not gonna be able to find those opportunities. And I love how you said, getting on social, letting people know about them, letting know people about and even if you just had people raise their hand, right? Saying, hey, who's looking for a good flip? Right? If you had an opportunity to be able to buy an investment property to flip and sell, and I can show you how to do it, and you can not even ever see the property, and I can walk you through the whole thing, who'd be interested and raise your hand? I'm sure you get lots of people that would raise their hand. And even like on local, community pages and stuff like that would be a great place to be able to put that out there just to see who's interested, right? Who's interested. And obviously that's the list that you work with. What else are you doing to be able to capture more investors from the current investors that you have?
What else am I doing from the current investors I have, like with referrals and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you generate referrals from the buyer pool that you already have?
Well, I'm trying to incorporate more like investor meetups, like with our investor clients. So doing those events, I've done one so far. I'm going to have another one next month, but that allows my investor client to invite other friends and family of theirs that are interested, and gives us an opportunity to meet in person and talk about all of that. I would have to look through and see who's came from a referral specifically. But I mean, a majority is just a lot of repeat clients for the most part.
Okay, that's awesome. You know, I think it's interesting that most of the time people that aren't investing have friends that are in the same similar bracket, if you will. And even though they might not necessarily be thinking as investing in flips or buying and holding on property, they have a portfolio, right? And you know, stocks go up and down, and when they go down, people might say, gosh, I'm going to pull it out and invest in real estate because it's more, you know, it's more stable or whatever it might be. It might be a good time to be able to connect with them to be able to get referrals for other investors, right? That can put money together. Are there apartments in your area?
Like big multifamily units?
Yeah, like, you know, 10plex, 20, 30, 40.
Not too much. It's a lot of duplex, triplex, fourplex.
Okay.
I'd say maybe like 10% of our market is like 20 plus.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. What other questions you guys have for her? You guys, she's 24 years old. She already has 3 flips under her belt, and she's done 45 transactions in the last 12 months. I mean, that's pretty rock star to me. 24 years old. I've got a kid that's 21 and hasn't done any of that. What advice would you give to newer agents that are out there, Alyssa?
I would just say like just stay hustling and don't give up. There was like a really negative connotation when I got my license, and even like my family was like, there's so many agents and the rates are gonna go up and who's gonna buy, and I just stayed straight and kept doing what I was doing and reaching out to other people for help, going to, you know, different masterminds and meetups in my community, and just staying motivated. I mean, that's the most important. Even though in this business it can be unmotivating at times and tough when we're not getting that deal or something's falling through that ruins the whole day. But each day we have a chance at getting another contract signed. So
Yep, I love that. And you know, it's interesting that I wish Robert Mack was on the call today. You know, I think he just bought his very first home to flip and sell. He's done where he's you know, sold to investors, but he's bought his own flip. And those guys, they're buying flips like $2 million tear down to build a home that they sell for, you know, 5 or 6 million, right? So it's a lot more risky investment, but the reward could be very, very, very lucrative. And so no matter where it is, no matter what it is, either it's luxury or, you know, stuff under 200,000, there's an opportunity for everybody to invest if they want to. And even if it's, you know, I love the idea, and we didn't get into it, maybe we can for a second. Imagine if you bought a property for, you know, call it $180,000, you put 40 into it, so you're all in at 220, and then you can sell it for 260. Someone puts 25% down, and you pull your money out that you put into it, but now you can get a loan and then loan on them, so you become the bank, right? Is that how it works? Is that what people are doing? You know what I'm talking about?
or like owner finance, is that what you said?
Yeah.
I kind of
Yep. So yeah, so if I buy a property and I fix it up and I sell it to somebody, and then I can do owner financing, right?
Mhm.
How do people do that?
So that part I'm still trying to learn myself, because like I have a guy who's like, we're trying to buy 20 properties in the next 2 months to owner finance to people. And I was like, okay, how can I be the one to help you with those 20 and no one else?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand like how that works and benefits them. Cause I guess my understanding is like, you know, they buy the house cash, they fix it up, and then they owner finance for like 6-7% interest rate. And they ask for like 20 to 40K down.
Mhm. Chris, do you have any more knowledge on that at all?
Yeah, we've done it before, both buying and selling. Most of ours, if we're keeping them, we're just burying, we're just doing a cash out refinance and getting our money back and then renting it. if we're doing any type of seller financing, we're generally doing an option with money down.
Okay,
At least 10%, generally speaking, and then if they default, we keep that and we take the property back. Because we don't want to have to go to the point where we have to foreclose. It's just expensive. So partial payment will go towards what they put down as well. So we've done a bunch of them when it's us buying. So we bought 5 properties about 45 minutes east of here 2 years ago. We did it on 25% down, and we got them to give us a 5% interest rate over a 30-year amortized schedule. And then we just fixed them and flipped them and all that kind of stuff. So we just actually sold the last couple. But on land contracts and stuff that we've done, we're bumping the market rent or the market interest rate probably 2.5 points. So if it's 7, you're getting your mortgage at 9.5%, and you're giving us money down because we're your bank. We're taking the risk on you. And then I have one from years ago where I did an owner finance for an investor up in Pennsylvania. They gave me 10% down, 5%. Or it was a 6.5 or 7% interest rate, and that's been going for 10-15 years now. They just send me a check every month. It's great. So that mailbox money type of stuff like that, when you control the asset still, you can take it back if they default. It's very lucrative. And unfortunately, when you do these options, a lot of them come back to you. You keep that money, and then you go do the same thing again. It's kind of predatory, but at the same time, you're giving somebody a chance to buy a house. So there's a couple different ways to look at it.
sure. Yeah, that's awesome. Any last thoughts or little nuggets you want to drop, Alyssa?
Yeah, I did think of one more thing that I forgot to bring up, and it's another way of getting the investor lead. So on your local MLS, if there's a property that was remodeled, I call the owner and I ask them like, hey, I saw you remodeled this property on this street. Are you looking for other projects in the area? I saw you really did a really good job. Or if I have a property in a neighborhood off market that we're trying to sell, I'll look at the recently sold and see what was remodeled. And then that's my way of calling them. Are you looking for anything else? I have another property down the street. So that's a good way that we've been getting leads, investor leads.
Do you have more leads? Excuse me. Do you have more properties to sell investors, or more investors and less properties to sell them?
More investors and less properties.
Yeah. So you don't need more investors, right? You're trying to find more properties.
Yeah. So
Okay,
we're
cool.
trying to like establish more of a system of how to get more deals and scrubbing the MLS for those properties too that need to be rehabbed.
Aside from scrubbing the MLS, what are some additional ways, maybe 1 or 2, that you are finding stuff that's off market, aside from, like one of your investors you've sold to in the past, which isn't a big group, right? Because there's only been 3 years, that might want to sell. Any other ways you'll be able to find off market properties?
Yeah, there's a website. I'm giving away nuggets, but there's not a lot of us and we're in different markets. So I'll type it in. I think it's in most markets. I don't know, Chris, if you have Investor Lift.
Investor.
I mean, I've kind of unplugged from all of that to a point, so I've not used that, quite honestly. There is a lot of stuff, like you said. There's all sorts of little things. Investor Lift. I'll have to look at that. Thank you.
What's Investor Lift?
That's where wholesalers will post their deals, most of them. You have to pay in order to post a deal. So, and I don't know the whole system of like being able to sign up and post a deal. But they'll post properties on there that are off market.
And do they just, like, how are you benefiting? Are you making commissions on that, or are you just doing more of the hey, I'll bring you this opportunity, but I'm gonna be your listing agent when it's all said and done?
Yeah, bringing the opportunity and like, establishing that agreement that I'm gonna list it when they're done.
Okay. And then is there a way to be able to connect that agent or the investor to that, or are you like doing anything to connect them so they don't go there directly, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, like I'll still be the one to show them the property and I'll be the one to send them the contract. I'm making sure no one's running around me.
Yeah.
Are you building in a commission on top of that?
Occasionally, yes, or the buyer will like add my commission to the price and pay me that way.
Yeah, I always put a commission of at least $2,000 because you're doing all the running, the investigating, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
That's even for me and my partner. I still charge him a commission, us a commission.
Yeah.
Well, you've been an amazing host today. I appreciate all of your nuggets. Again, for 24 years old, I think that's pretty amazing. So the biggest things I got is, I'll have to look into this investor lift to see if there's anything interesting there in my area. And then the bigger pockets, I think that's a cool little nugget as well, to be able to go on there and just, look at opportunities to be able to get to know and rub shoulders with investors, right? And the Facebook groups, I think those are all really, really clever ideas. Anything we can do to support you?
No, just add me on Instagram or send me a text and we can connect and try to send each other some referrals.
Sweet. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being on this week's episode of Masterclass. I guess we'll talk to you guys next week. Have an awesome weekend, you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.
you.
Alyssa.